street, Harlow in Essex. We are outside one of the singer and songwriter's house, Ronan's. Don't Worry has been around for a little bit longer than the other two bands, so I think there's going to be a different take on that experience. And I also understand that there's sort of quite a lot of history in Harlow with regard to like a musical hub and a centre, so it's going to be really interesting to find out about that as well.
We are in Harlow, Newtown, in Essex.
Yeah, this is unfortunate.
These wooden walls here are surrounding the site that used to be the home of a music venue called The Square, which is where Sam and I grew up, really, you know, going to watch gigs but also playing gigs there ourselves, and it's where we met, right?
Yeah, it was kind of responsible for there being a music scene in Harlow at all, you know.
And there was a strong music scene at one point as well, bands like The World on Fire, Orgasmatron. It shut down because the land underneath the building was privately owned and they were going to turn it into flats, and then they kind of changed their mind and it opened again for a few months and it wasn't quite as good as it was before, and then it shut down again, and as you can see there aren't any flats there.
The Square is responsible for Don't Worry existing.
It is, yeah.
And I think like it's probably any band from Harlow that's ever done anything, The Square is responsible for them existing. So it's like
you gave you a platform to play as
That's
well.
right, it's 99% of the musicians in the area, that would have been their first gig on the stage upstairs at The Square, yeah.
Me and Ronan were both in bands before Don't Worry, and both of those all of those bands played at The Square or played locally. Like, so we had these opportunities to kind of like cut our teeth and just like play shows. It was massive for us. But like, we got to play like hundreds of gigs before, you know, we even started Don't Worry, and so it's like building up that kind of experience. If that's what you want to do, if you want to be like a live band or whatever, you know what I mean? But I feel like we were lucky to have that opportunity, you know.
But now, if we wanted to play a hometown show now, you'd have a job even finding somewhere to do it, full stop, let alone actually doing it successfully, you know. So I don't know what you would even do these days. If you were at a point now where you're good enough at your instrument, you've written a few songs, maybe you and your mate, if you're lucky enough to have a friend to do it with, maybe you've written a few songs, what do you do now? Like just blindly email promoters that you've seen on posters for other gigs in London and just hope that they give you a chance? Because, I mean, anyone who's played in a band knows that it's like winning the lottery, you know, getting like an actual opportunity from a blind email is very, very unlikely. You have to kind of network and meet people naturally and organically, and then eventually, if you're good enough, you'll be given one opportunity and that will blossom into several more. I think the sort of DIY spirit of making a band from scratch and doing it the hard way is a sort of dying.
But I think it's just, I think it probably is just harder to do that.
Yeah.
That's just a result of like, you know, the environment that we're in now. You know, like the venues closing like left, right, and centre over the last 10 years. You know, like there's not really an alternative. Like, and you can sort of feel like, oh, it must be, that sucks for the younger generation that they don't have that. But like, they'll find a way, won't they? You know what I mean? Like if you're into it, you're into it.
Whenever you need somebody to tell you that you're the best, to work through your regrets, but you still moan. Whenever something turns out to be different from how you thought, those shoes that you just bought don't fit your feet, but you still wear them. 'Cause you just like them, and you're just like that, and I don't mind it. Somebody to tell you what to think, to buy you another drink, but then you get up when your phone rings. There must be somewhere you'd rather be, with someone you'd rather see. Got me exactly where you want me. Now I'm just sitting here, staring at my phone screen. Same time next week. I need somebody to tell me that it's alright, to get me through the night. Wish we were all stuck in the 90s. Disintegration on repeat. Better check my progress with Denise, 'cause I don't recognise her lately. I wonder if she hates me. Is it just me who hates me? Definitely, maybe.
I'm the only one that still lives in Harlow. Generally speaking, I think it's a good place to live. I think that it gets a bad rap sometimes in the media, but music-wise, it basically doesn't exist anymore. There is no music scene. We're lucky enough to have got to a point where, you know, of course we're not a huge band, but we are at a point where we have a small audience in many different places. So we don't have to focus all of our time and energy on one scene in one area, like lots of other bands are able to, or want to, or have to. Cool things happen, like, I don't know, if you find yourself on a Spotify playlist, or you get played on a proper radio station, then that feels like a kind of sign of validation from a wider audience that what you do isn't just good to you and your friends, it's actually good, and it's just a matter of how many people it can be exposed to. That's great, you know. People that want to buy clothing or whatever that says the name of our band on it, you know, like the fact that people want to spend their hard-earned money on that is a great feeling, you know. You must be doing something right. They want to put that on their chest and walk around and show other people, you know. It's an awful lot of work for very little reward, even if you get signed to a major label these days, which we obviously haven't been, but I've got friends who have been, and they still work multiple day jobs. You know, it's not what it used to be. So we all.
But
do
you're compelled to do it. You know, like it's just full of extreme highs and lows. But even with all of the negatives that come with it, you know, like when you get that one good bit of, you know, like the one show that sticks in your memory forever. You know, it's just makes it worthwhile, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is the friendship of it all, right? You know, like you guys are my friends and we do this together. Some people play football or whatever, you know, but we play music, and that's the thing that we choose to do in our spare time. I always use the word vocation because it's not my full-time job, but it's much more than just a hobby, you know. If you're going to start a band, you have to make sure that you're going to do it with the right people, because if they're not in it for the same reasons as you, chances are that at some point along the path they're going to call it a day. You need to have at least 2 or 3 of you that are going to be committed until it comes to its natural end. You know, all bands come to a natural end at some point. When you're starting out, your Instagram follow count is not the most important thing. Great, if people are showing you that they're interested in what you're doing, then that's cool, and that is a morale booster as well. But
if you're getting into it to get gratification from, you know, success, instead of doing it because you just enjoy doing it, like, that's a byproduct of, like, some people get lucky and get that success out of it, but it should be a byproduct. It shouldn't be what you're doing it for, right?
Yeah,
You can wanting the success is fine, right? But like, you can drive yourself mad, like chasing those kind of like more like the material kind of like things or the ideas of success that you have in your head or whatever, you know. But like, you have to hang on to those what it is that like makes it enjoyable for you, like that gets you excited in the first place. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, like, you know, as you say, like, you could get to that point, but still not be satisfied, you know. Playing in bands and getting to go on tours around Europe, and he's like, we get to do that. Like, we actually get to do that. You know what I mean? As hard as it is to like organise and plan and whatever, get to that point where you can do it, like, we get to do it, and it's a special thing, and like, we get to share it with our friends, and like, not many people do, you know.
It's been really interesting to hear them talk, because comparative to the previous 2 days where we've had bands at a very different point in their journey than Don't Worry, and perhaps with different objectives sort of ultimately than Don't Worry have, it's aligned a lot more with sort of my own personal experiences with doing music, and the reason why I've ended up almost like a compulsion. You have to do it. There has to be bands. You know, we all listen to bands, so someone's got to do it, hasn't they? They talked a lot about the venue, the square, and the fact that dying sort of almost, well, perhaps has ultimately completely killed off Harlow as a music scene. When we talked to Murder Club, we learnt about Le Pub being the sort of central community hub. And I think when we were speaking to Juju, she was saying that she's moving to a different city to try and find that hub. And of course there's still going to be musicians in Harlow, and they will probably be going to London or Oxford or anywhere else to make music there, but there aren't any people who are going to their local venue and seeing, you know, Gary from the BMX shop or Phil from the pub or Sarah from the pub on stage playing music and going, if they can do it, I can do it, and then picking up guitars.
Why can't we just take this moment